Hello everyone. Welcome to the User of Bricks channel. Today we are creating the little item in my hand. This may look like a normal vanilla cake, but if we go into the inventory that we can see it, it is a test cake block. It is a custom block using a custom block base. So, to show you that it does work, let's go into survival and make sure I'm changing game mode. Game mode survival. You can see I have some hunger. I can click this. It fills half a hunger bar. The cake fills a full hunger bar. This cake fills only half. In this tutorial, we will learn how to do that. And it is a ride, let me tell you. So, take a seat and enjoy. Okay, so to start off this tutorial, you'll want to go to your block base folder, click the add button, click Java class, and this class will be your block base as we are putting it in the block base folder. So we will name this, since we are making a custom cake block, we'll name it custom cake block. Click OK, and that will create a customcake.java file. You can open that. There won't be much in here yet. That's because we need to go and get our cake. Go to the actual Minecraft cake class and open that up. So you want to go to your external libraries. The Gradle Forge, the very top one. Let's scroll up. Click Net, Minecraft, Block. And you will want the cake block, which is right here. Just to give you rough reference, it's second C from the section where it has all the classes that start with a C. Double click on that and that'll open that file up. Copy all of the imports. I would suggest starting from public and selecting everything up, and then go back to your custom cake block, paste that in there. You want to type in over here extends block, and that'll add in an import for block. There are two other imports that you'll want. That would be the blocks and block state import that comes from net.minecraft.block.blocks or block state. And so that should be all the imports you will need for creating this block base. So the next thing you want to do is you want to select everything from in the public class. Do not include that last bracket or the first bracket. Just copy everything else. Go back to your custom cake block. Go inside your brackets and paste everything in. Make sure to save, as you don't want to accidentally lose this. I mean, it's not the hardest thing to get back, but it's a good practice to be in when working on custom code. Okay, so the first thing you will want to do is you will want to add two new things, and those will be public statics. One of them will be an int. You can call it hunger, as we want to be able to use this as well as changing the hunger and saturation amount, which is the next public static. And this will be a float. And then you can name it saturation. Make sure on both of those you add a semicolon afterwards, or things will go wrong and you may not be able to figure out what they are if you don't know code. So you want to rename this protected cake block to custom cake block, and then inside the parentheses you want to add a comma, int hunger in. This is a function we will be using to set our hunger and saturation values that we will then be able to experience in game. Then right after that, float saturation in. And for these kinds of things, as well as the public statics above, the first letter of the word should always be lowercase. Any other words in the name should not have any spaces, but instead the first letter of each word needs to be capitalized. That's just how Java coding is done, and it's a good practice to be in. Next, you want to go under this.setDefaultState and type in this.hunger, not hungerer. Why is hungerer up here? It's hunger. Hunger. Okay. And then set that equal to hunger in. Make sure to add the semicolon. I've been running into a bug recently that all of a sudden I can't click enter, create any new lines. I can type, but I can't click the enter button for some reason. And what I do for that is I just close out of the workspace and open it back up. I have a second reference workspace open, and I'm just going to go to the file open recent Lord of the Rings mod and open this back up again. We can go back into our source, net creator, Lord of the Rings, block base, and we are back and ready to go. Next, you want to, after your this.hunger, you want to add this dot saturation, and set that equal to saturation in. Remember to again add that semicolon afterwards. Okay, so the next thing we want to change is down in the eat cake function. This is the last thing we'll need to do for this, and we'll be replacing in a bit in the player.getFoodStats.addStats line. The 2 you want to replace with hunger, not hunger. Autocorrect. I'm still not used to the mcreator autocorrect. And then saturation for the 0.1f. A number with an f at the end is a float. So just so you know, that's why we had to make the saturation a float up above. So that is it for our block base. If you want me to create a video explaining what everything else in this class is, feel free to leave a comment saying so, and I can do that, but it may be a Patreon exclusive. So yeah, and that'll mean I'll also be setting up a Patreon. But anyway, after you have done all of this, you can close out of custom cake block. The next thing we'll be doing is actually using mCreator itself, not just coding. We will want to create a block. What do you know? We're creating a block. So name this whatever you want, and I'll be naming it cake block, and it'll be test cake block. Create new block. I don't have textures. I just remembered. So I need to go into resources, create texture from scratch, fill with transparency width. Yeah, that's fine. Let's, the cake block will in the end look just like your, the vanilla cake block, and I'll show you how to change the textures and whatnot. I myself won't be changing them, but you will be able to. So we can, if you want to add in your own textures, you can add them in the normal way in mCreator. You go to the resources, textures, import your block textures, and you will be just fine. I'll show you later how to implement them correctly for your cake block. This texture here is just a placeholder, so test, I'll just name that test, and yeah, so now we have test in our resources. As I said, just import resources, block textures, and you'll want to import all of that for your block. Now we can go back to our test block, click here, use that single texture. You don't have to change the block base. We created our own, but you can't use it through here, unfortunately. I wish you could, but sadly you can't. So this is a single texture, no rotation. We'll leave it solid for now. Next page, you can change the name like you want, change the material to what you want. I will be changing it to cake. And building blocks, I'll change that to food. Hardness, let's just set that at 1. Resistance, set that at 1. Has gravity. Yeah, let's have gravity. Actually, no gravity. That may change things. I haven't tested that. Tick rate, don't worry about that. Block color on the map, default. I believe there is a cake in here. We'll have it be a white. White is in here, I know that. Where is it, though? White terracotta. Let's just leave it at white terracotta. That's similar enough. Can sustain plants? No. Beacon base, if you want. Is this block flammable? If you want it to be flammable. I don't know why you would. Does redstone connect to this block? Definitely not. Enchantment power bonus, that's for the beacon base, or actually that's for our making it like a bookshelf around an enchanting table. Okay, so we want it to drop itself, so we can leave that empty. Drop amount 1. Affected by silk touch. Sure. Creative pick item, we want it to be itself, so we leave that empty. Don't specify a tool unless you want it to be that specific tool. I'd change the harvest tool level to break to 0, as we want our hands to be able to break it. Ugh. Sorry, I had to blow my nose for a moment. Anyway, sound on step, we do not want that to be ground. we want that to be, okay, so they don't have cake. I haven't tested around with the exact things, but I think snow will sound just fine, I think. If you want your cake to give off light, go ahead and add that. If you want light to be able to travel through the block, you can lower the light opacity. If you want people to not be able to break out this block once you place it, go ahead and click there. Is replaceable. I don't recommend doing that for this block. Can walk through the block. If you want to walk through your food, go ahead and add that. I'm not. Then you can click next page. If you want particles, you can go ahead and add them if you want it to be a, say, magical cake. But as we are only implementing hunger and saturation changes, I wouldn't add these unless you absolutely want it. We do not want to add a tile entity. And then here, with our block base, you won't be able to use the on block right clicked, as our block base already uses that. You can use when block added, when neighbor block changes, update tick, when player starts to destroy, and all the others. You can use those to their full advantage, and yeah, you can use all of that, except I believe except the update tick. Don't use the update tick or the on block right clicked. Those two things I would suggest leaving off limits, or you may run into oddities that don't fit. And I would also say here, put in your procedures before you may add the block base, as we will have to lock the code and you won't be able to access all of these procedures. So that being said, add those now and then come back. Once you have done that, next page, if you want it to spawn as an OR, go ahead and add that. I doubt you want to, but you can do that. Then we save this element, and as I said earlier, we will be locking the code. So lock the code, and then we want to edit the code itself. You may have more in here than I do, but what should be roughly similar is this public custom block area, the init elements area, and above that. So now that we have done all of that we need to, we can go ahead and import, because again we need to reference our block base. We need to import net.mcreator dot whatever your mod name is. Mine is Lord _of_the_rings_mod. That is the name of your mod folder. It can be found right up here. And then you want to add dot block base, and then dot custom cake block. Add a semicolon after that to finish off your import. The next thing you will want to do is go down to the custom block extends block. You have seen this before. If we go back to our custom cake block, that is right there. You can see that right there. But instead of extending block, we want to extend custom cake block. And that'll use everything in our block base. And now that we have done that, we need to go find the end of this, put in a comma, and we need to put in an integer for our hunger. So if we want it to be just like the cake block, we put 2. If you want it to be more than a cake block, 4, less, 1. I'm going to put it at 4. Actually, no, I'm going to put it at 1, so it does half a hunger haunch thing. And then the saturation, we'll leave that at an 0.1 F. Always remember the F. If you put this at 1, that'll be using a normal health bar as an example. That'll be half the health bar worth of saturation, and that is a lot more than most food in Minecraft does. I think the only food that adds that much saturation is the golden apple and maybe the golden carrot, but I believe that changes in 1.15, which is after this. This is 1.14. And now you're done. That's it. You have implemented your block base. It's as simple as that. So let's go and test it out, shall we? Okay, now we have Minecraft loaded up, and you can hear the music playing in the background. You can go to single player, create a new world. We want this to be a creative. I would suggest making this a super flat and allow cheats, and then you can create the world and we can test our block. So now that we're in game, if you remember, we made the block in the food tab, so we have our test block. Now this won't look like the cake block yet. We still have to change how it looks in our hand and all of that. But for now, it's this. And you will be able to eat it. You won't be able to see it shrink yet, but it will eventually. So now that we know that it's still in the game, we haven't broken anything yet. Let's quit the game and let's make it actually look the part. So to do this, we need to go into our resources, assets, into your mod folder. Block states will be the first one we need to go to. You could alternatively, from going that direction, which is the direction I'm used to now that I've been hard coding or just coding my mods. I don't know why I said hard coding. You can click on this locked code and see all the different things there. We will be changing a few things, so bear in mind that certain things will change. So we will also want to go into models and block. Oh, I forgot to check if our name was correct. I would assume that it is, since we've only changed. It should be correct, but we'll see when we get in the game next. Anyway, for the models, you'll want to open the test block model. We'll get to that later. You will also want to go to item and test block, test cake block, because that has all of that. And let's just make sure this is correct, and test cake block with the orientations that we want. Good. We do not need to change anything there. To see what we do need to change, we will need to go down and search by file name, cake. And then you will see this Gradle Client Extra, and you will see models block. There are 7 different models for it. There's also the item model. We've already said that that's fine. There's the textures. Those should be fine. And then the cake block states, we want to open that. We will be using that. You can actually select everything in here. Go to your test block block state. You can tell by the breadcrumb up above, block states test block instead of models block test block. You want to be in here, and we are actually going to paste this right down below, and we will edit a few things. So you want to copy this part of your already done thing, and you'll want to paste that in front of every single model path, or resource location as Minecraft calls it. You'll want to change the cake word to the name of your block that is given up above. You want to save that, and now we can delete everything above as everything here is done. You want to leave this open, as we will have to create different things later on, or actually right now. So we will want to go up to our models and the test cake block. In there, we will want to add a JSON file with the name test block underscore slice 1. And I was just checking that it matches this name up here, test cake block underscore slice 1. Click OK, and that will create another thing. Let's open up all of our cake slices so we have them, so that we can use them. It may get crazy. Don't forget you have this arrow over here so you can see everything. Now that we have that, we can just get rid of our search and go back into our resources, assets, Lord of the Rings mod. We don't need to go into block states, as we have that. We need to go into models, block, and there you can see our test cake block 1, or test cake block slice 1 is there. We need to create that, changing the number until we get to 6. So add JSON file, paste the name of your base block, and then slice 2. And then click block again, add JSON file, paste slice 3. And then click block again. You'll have to do that every single time. Then add a JSON file, paste the name of your base block, slice 4. Do this, as I said before, for every single one of your slices. And as I am nearly done getting everything in, I am just going to not skip and just show you the entire process. Okay, now that we have all of those, we need to go back to our model test cake block and then look at our cake.json. You will see that all of this code in the element section, that's the cube or rectangle, 3D rectangle that creates the model. And then up above is the textures. We will want to change the textures. I will actually pause at some point and import the normal cake textures, and I'll show you from there. What we can do for now is just copy everything from cake.json. Can close out of that, go back to our test cake block.json. That is our model. Again, go down, paste, and then you'll want to copy the first bit of that has your mod name, I guess you could call it, or ID, and then just paste it in front of everything down below. This in-game right now will cause it to show the error texture, but don't worry, it is still just fine. Delete from above, and you are all good for your test cake block.json. Now I see we still have the block states open for the cake. You can close out of that as well. You want to now open up test cake block slice 1 and then go to cake slice 1. Copy everything in there. Paste it. You don't need cake slice anymore. You want to go to wherever you can to get the mod name, or you could type it out every single time. That may be a bit slower, but it will work. I am just going to copy it every single time. And it's pretty much just this over and over and over again. However, for this part right here, the cake underscore whatever, you will want that to be the name of the PNG or texture file that you want to be there. I would suggest replacing cake with the base name of your block. So in my case, that would be test cake block. I'm not going to do that as I'm just importing the Minecraft files directly. It'll work just the same, but yeah. So once we have that done, you don't need test cake block slice 1 or whatever your slice 1 is called. I just opened up the slice 2. Go to click cake slice 2, copy everything, go back to test block slice 2 or whatever your name is, whatever it is called for you. And it's the same thing as I said before. It's nothing spectacular. So I will see you after I have finished all of the different models. Okay, so once you are done with all of the modeling that I showed you, adding in all of the mod names before and copying from the cake block, if you want your cake to look differently from the vanilla cake, you can do that as well. You just will have to look inside all of the files for your models that you want. So just know that if you want something shaped differently, because you'll have to go in and change these individually. Okay, so for the naming of your files, the base vanilla cake has, what is this, 3? The cake inner, cake side, top, bottom. Oh, that's 4. It's got 4. So we will need to go to our resources and import those files. You want to make sure they are named exactly the same as what's in these names. At the very end, after block slash, the cakes underscore side, you'll need one texture named that. You'll need a texture named cake underscore bottom, cake underscore top, cake underscore inner. Those are the PNGs you will need. You will, if you have named them differently, go ahead and have those. But know that there will be a .png after the name. That's, I think, general known. So we need to import textures. I haven't yet gone and put them into a specific spot, but I do have the base textures somewhere on my computer. So I can import them, and I believe I have it on my desktop. And yes, Mac, I want to let it have access. Okay, so I believe I have a Minecraft work, yes. And then Minecraft resources. Client extra is where I have it. Your textures may be somewhere completely different, but I downloaded the base Minecraft textures and all of that. So yeah, I have all of that. Now this is going to be a little annoying, but I need to find the cactus cake. Ah, here we are. Cake bottom, cake inner, cake side, and cake top. So I am importing all of those. So I have the cake top, cake side, cake bottom, and cake inner. And all of those have been imported. They get automatically put into the correct spot. So that'll be inside this blocks folder. It hasn't updated fully yet. I think we can do that through just building the files. So let's let it build. Shouldn't take too long. Yeah, it's done. Nope, that didn't update it. Okay, well, these files will appear in here at some point, and trust me, they will be there. That's where they go. Our test PNG is there, and you didn't see me put anything special there. It's just fine. And so you see the names of the blocks. Those correspond, as I said before, exactly with what we have in all of these models. So if we now go in game, and apparently I did something wrong. You can see the models there. So if we and it's in our hands as well, so that's nice, except the textures aren't working for some reason. So let's go to game mode, survival, and let's give ourselves effect, give at p hunger for 10 seconds. I found that to be just fine, of amplifier 100. This should get our hunger down pretty far and not kill us. So we can eat the cake and it revives our hunger. And you can see it shrinks. The only thing I need to work on is the actual textures, because apparently I did something wrong and told you to do the wrong thing. Okay, slime, yeah, I know you're there. Yeah, you're annoying. that is worrisome as well. Okay, so we can quit the game. Okay, so our cake bottom, cake inner, cake side, and cake top are there. Cake block. Oh, I know what it is. Instead of block here, it needs to be blocks. Because mCreator still hasn't updated their naming system. So we can go through and just add S's to everything. It's, yeah. Then we'll look at the item model and see what's going on there. I forgot an S. Okay, so now down an S, 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 S. Save. Slice 5. S, 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 S. Slice 6. S, 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 S. Save. Yay! We are done with all of that, and now everything is looped to the correct place. So in vanilla Minecraft, this blocks folder where it keeps all of the images for the blocks, that is named block. And that changed in 1.13. mCreator is still on the 1.12 and before version of that folder being named blocks. I would assume that the item folder where Minecraft keeps all of its item textures, mCreator hasn't updated that to item yet, and so it's items. So keep that in mind for changing whatnot. Okay, so meta inf. No, I don't need down there. Test cake block. So block, block, test block, test block. Rotation. Don't know why it wasn't rotating, but that should be the correct rotations. Okay, I'm going to go in-game real quick and test it, and if it works, I'll see you in-game. If it doesn't, you'll see me back right here. Okay, so it is partially working. The in the inventory still isn't working, and I'll show you how to change that. I figured out why that is, but it is actually showing the textures in the game, which is what we want. We already saw earlier that it shrinks, so that happens. Let's go into game mode, survival rule, not spectator, survival. And let's give the effect again, give happy hunger for, let's say 8 seconds this time, 100. And there it goes, our hunger down. And we can eat the cake. It is being eaten. And there it is gone. So game mode creative again. We can place our block. That does not sound like the actual cake. You may have to mess around with the actual sounds before you actually add on the base, the block base. So sorry I'm telling you that now, but it's not too hard to redo everything. And no, I do not mean everything. I just mean the actual block itself. So to fix the look in our inventory, that is caused by the item model. And the item model is what you see right here in the display section. So it has third person, and that's it. That's all it has. That's why it is not working. It's supposed to have also first person right hand, first person left hand, in your slot as well as in an item frame and stuff like that. So let's go into Blockbench. Now, if you don't know what Blockbench is, I'm truly sorry. It is a wonderful program for creating things. So let's create a new Java block item. Just confirm we don't need anything, but to make sure everything is correct, we will want to create a quick mock-up of what the block will be. I believe it is 8 high. I don't know, but it is 14 wide and 14 long. So once you have that, you can head over to this handy dandy little display section. And this has all of the different features you need to make it look correctly. We can also go to display, apply preset everywhere. We want our default block. And as you can see, that changes that. Third person looks just fine. First person, just fine. First person left, just fine. Up on the head, that's what blocks look like on your head. Yeah, I don't know why. On the ground, it'll look fine, just like a normal block. In an item frame, that's what it'll look like. If you want to change that, you can. Here's what it'll look like in your inventory. So with all of that, we can not go back to start, go back to edit, file, export, block model. And I'm just going to put this on my desktop as model. We don't need Blockbench anymore. And we can go into our model.json. And in here, you can see there's the display section. If we go back to our test block, you can just see display third person. That can replace third person right hand and left hand if you want it to. We just created it so that it'll look fine everywhere, so we know this will do what we want it to. So let's just copy that entire thing and replace this. There we are. Now, if we go into the game, so we are here in the game, and we have our cake block. It looks just fine in our inventory, in our hand. In our inventory, we can put it on the ground. It looks just fine. We can pick it up. We can go into a third person, and it'll look just fine. We can even put it into our right-hand slot, and it still looks fine. And still looks 5 in F3. Or F5. Whichever. Yeah, so that is the episode for the custom cake block base. In the next episode, we will actually be enabling the item version of this block. Yes, the item version, the one you hold in your hand, not the one you place down. We will be enabling it to be eaten as well. So, stay tuned for that, and I shall see you next time. This has been the User of Bricks.